What is up, everyone? Welcome to TCR Live on Thursday. Today, I am joined by my good friends, Aaron Van Buren and Kyler Burd. Aaron, how the heck are you, sir?
Fantastic. Russell Wilson is no longer here in our division, and the trade rumors about Jimmy Garoppolo are heating up. So, I mean, the outlook is looking up.
I agree. Waking up and knowing Russell Wilson's no longer in the division is just the birds sing a little bright or louder. The sun is a little brighter. So for sure, Mr. Bird. And if you haven't checked out, Kyler has launched a new YouTube channel. The link is below, and both Kyler and Aaron's Twitter handles are in the description below. Be sure you're subscribing to both of them and check out Kyler's new channel. But Kyler, how are you, sir?
I'm doing really well. Same as Aaron. Super excited that Russell Wilson is out of our hair. We do have to play him this season, but
Denver, yeah.
Yeah, we do have to play Denver, so we will see Russell Wilson once, but we will not be playing him twice. And I said in one of my videos, I think that this leaves Kyler Murray as the most talented quarterback left in our division. I know Matt Stafford just won a Super Bowl, but Kyler Murray is a good quarterback, and he's definitely the most athletic one left. So no more of Russ escaping the pocket, no more weird ties, no more losing at home to Seattle, hopefully. No more losing weird games to Seattle at home every single year. So super excited to see him leave. So and actually, I'm excited because now I get to root for Russell Wilson because I like him as a person and a player, but I couldn't root for him. So happy he's a Bronco. I'll be on his side again.
Nice. Yeah, I won't miss what I've come to call the Russell Wilson special. That is a broken play, Russell Wilson scrambling, maybe even dropping the ball and picking it back up, for God's sake, and then throwing someone 40 yards downfield who's wide open in a scramble.
Tyler Lockett, wide open.
Yes, usually Tyler Lockett. Yeah.
That Doug Baldwin play in 2016 or 17 just killed the season.
I will not miss that. Let's say hey real quick to the folks in the chat. We have Kathy Lambert, who was here early. Kathy. She can't wait 15 minutes. She's been here with us. Woo woo, Kathy in the house. Thank you so much. What is up? And yes, Kyler is the best quarterback in the NFC West. I think he's the most talented. Stafford has the track record, but Kyler has the arm talent and the leg talent both.
Yeah, if you're talking straight athlete, it's Kyler.
Yeah, to Slim Shay, thank you for being here. Finally got a live stream. What's good, everyone? Well, what's good is it's getting to be the exciting part of the offseason, free agency, getting ready for the draft. If you aren't catching it, every Monday I do Mock Draft Monday, which is a lot of fun. We're all learning about the draft prospects together. So what's good is this is about to get to be exciting. So thank you to everyone who's here. And we are going to talk about the moves that the Cardinals have made thus far and maybe look ahead to what's coming up next. And then so obviously the folks in the chat, give your thoughts as we go through this. But we're going to jump into the first question, which is thoughts on the release of Jordan Hicks. What do you think of the move? And Aaron, we'll let you go ahead and get us started.
Yeah, for Hicks, I don't understand it. I mean, the guy has been absolutely the best linebacker you've had since, prime Carlos Dansby. And he was a leader of the defense. I mean, 2019, 2020, he was phenomenal. And then, and get this, in just 3 years, he is the 14th leading tackler in history, in Arizona Cardinals history. And to give that in a little perspective, Budda Baker is probably within the top 6 or 7 with close to 400. So, I wish him the best. He's still a great player. He can go and play anywhere. But the Cardinals did him dirty by keeping him around after they drafted Zabin. So, I guess this was just foreseen. I guess it was just a matter of time, is what I was saying. So,
What do you think, Kyler?
I do hate to see him go because the way he handled the situation with Zaven Collins made him a favorite player of mine. He handled it like a true professional. And he never. No, I'm not going to bring that up. I'm not going to bring up primary contract stuff, but he handled it like a grown man professional who was dealt a bad hand, and he still played well. He wasn't great against the run. He had flaws in his game, and ever since that, with an ACL injury or an Achilles injury, something a few years ago, he's been getting slower every single season. So I get the. I get leaving the inside linebacker duo up to Collins and Simmons because they're both younger, faster players. And as we saw at the combine, the wide receivers coming into the NFL now, the tight ends coming into the NFL now, are remarkably fast. Every year, the speeds get quicker and quicker and quicker. And the defense has to keep up with that type of speed, and Jordan Hicks really isn't that type of player to deal with that anymore. But he handled it so well, and he is going to go to a team that needs veteran experience, and he's going to have that same sort of impact. He's going to be a captain on that team, and he's going to help the young guys. So I think he's a great player. I do, and I think he's a great person, and I wish him the best. But I am glad that we're going to see finally 2 first-round investments at that position and see what they can do. They'll let them make their mistakes, and it might turn out beautifully.
Yeah. So I wish I could take credit for what I'm about to say as being original to me, but someone on Twitter made this reference, and I apologize because I don't remember who it was. If I could, I would absolutely give the person specifically credit for this attribution. So if you know who said this, I apologize, or let me know. But someone compared it to a scene from the movie Moneyball. You remember the movie Moneyball where Brad Pitt's character, the general manager, wanted the coach to play certain guys, and the manager wouldn't. He was going to play his guys, and so Brad Pitt's character traded away the guys he didn't want him to play, so he'd have no choice but to play the guys that he. So I feel like this is a little bit like this, and someone made that reference, and I remembered who. I want to give him credit, but it's like that. We're like, Steve Keim drafts Zaven Collins, says he's going to be the starter, and then Vance Joseph has a different idea, and we saw how it played out. So it feels a little bit like Steve Keim's like, well, I'm going to cut him so you can't play him, right? Now, I don't think it was necessarily that, petty. Certainly, I mean, $6.5 million in cap savings in a year when they need that room for a guy who, you kind of want to see the other guy, Zaven Collins take the starting job. Jordan Hicks was a consummate professional. And I think we all agree he handled it with class and dignity. He wanted to be traded. He wasn't traded. But he played, and he was still professional, and helped, from what I understand, in recruiting Zach Ertz, or helped somehow bridge that, I guess, because they're close. And so much respect for him personally, but he is a step slower, it seems. He did seem to be a liability against the run. Not that our other linebackers did a lot better, but Collins seems to flash some ability. And I will say though, tackles can be a little overrated for inside linebackers, because if you just play that position and get a lot of snaps, you're going to get a lot of tackles if you're even an NFL caliber player. And his PFF grades haven't been great since he's been in Phoenix. They've gone down a little bit.
Are we really still valuing PFF though?
I do. I don't think they're perfect, but I do. I know there's a lot of haters. That's okay. But I think it's a useful metric. So I think it was the right move. You say you had a lot of cap You need some cap room. You've got 2 first-round picks that you've invested in. You need to see if they're the guys or not. And I get it. Hicks was the veteran. He has more more awareness and knowledge, but you have to see those guys play to get to that point. Collins is never going to get there if he doesn't play. And we talked about this last season. Other teams play their rookies. It's ugly sometimes, but when it comes playoff time, those rookies are then closer to ready. So you have to take you have to jump into the deep end of the pool and let them get it. So I think it was the right move.
But I just want to refute the fact that, Jordan Hicks may be slowing down, because according to Pro Football Reference, looking at his advanced stats, he allowed the second least completion percentage through the air, his second lowest yards at 414, only 3 touchdowns, and only missed 9 tackles, which is also his second lowest on his career. To me, it seems like he was starting to really get into his stride, but I digress.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the running game looked bad, and I didn't see him I saw him make a few plays against the running game. I don't know, though. So I think there's a debate to be had there. Who do you think calls the defense? This I've heard someone else ask this question, I think, in the Discord, which is my reminder. Hey, if you're not part of our Discord, there's also a link below. A lot of great conversation goes out there throughout the week. Watch Vallejo start Sober Collins.
I will start drinking.
I will drink more than I already do. No, I don't drink that much. Anyway, so I don't know. Do you think Buddha calls the defense? I mean, usually you expect that to be the Mike linebacker, but I don't know.
I think it's just got to be Simmons or Zaven at this point, because I mean, you don't want to have a safety have to run 15 yards down just to get a call and then run back and then run the amount of yards he has to cover on the play.
Yeah.
So
I think so too. There might be some mistakes early, but he's got to get the experience somehow. Get it in the first half of the season when they seem to win anyway.
Right.
So
true.
Yeah. So cool. Any other thoughts on that before we move on to the next topic?
I've said all I could say.
Okay. So another linebacker, Devin Kennard, outside linebacker, was restructured. Some people thought he was going to be cut. The dead cap hit wasn't great. If it was, I think it was about half and half, if I'm not mistaken, like $4.5 million dead cap and $4.5 million saved if they cut him. So they restructured him in a way that saves him some money and keeps him around. So we'll let Kyler, since Aaron got us started last time. Kyler, what do you think about the restructuring of Devin Kennard?
I think because of the point that you had about the savings are pretty much the same, whether they cut or restructure because of the dead cap, that this was definitely the right move, because with Chandler Jones being unknown, it kind of just leaves the outside linebacker position as a whole unknown. So keeping a depth piece for the same amount of savings as you would have cutting him, I'm totally on board with. I know you can make an argument that by cutting him, you open a roster spot for someone who's maybe better, but Devon Kennard's not necessarily bad. He did suffer from being in a group where he is constantly compared to a Chandler Jones. But he's serviceable. He's good depth. So that was actually a really, really smart business money move to me. You're getting to hold on to this player for a position you're not entirely sure what's going to look like by the start of the season. And you save the money from it. So I think it's a great move. I'm totally fine with Devon Kennard being on the team again. I hope that they don't plan for him to be a starting role in that position and just roll with Devon Kennard and Marcus Golden. That would be weird. And I don't think that's what's going to happen. But as depth, great. Good move.
Just real quick to ask, his current cap hit is 2.11666666. So just 2.1 million is current cap hit. And it was, I feel like it was somewhere around 9. And it was a situation where I think it was, if I'm remembering correctly, I think it was a $9 million cap cap hit before the restructure, and if they had released him, half of that would have been dead cap, right? So 4.5.
4.5 would be.
Yeah.
dead
So
cap.
now they've actually brought it down even to where he's less than the dead cap would have been. So 2.116. So it's really, really well done in terms of what they did with that contract. And I don't know what happens with the rest of that money and how that's distributed or what, but the restructure, I don't know, maybe I'm just looking at Spot Track. He might have taken just a straight up pay cut. I don't know if there was and I don't know exactly what all went into that. So if anyone does, but whatever they did, they cleared up a lot of cap space. So, Aaron, what are your thoughts on the move and Kennard's role on the roster?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Kyler said for Kennard. And Kennard, for some reason, has gotten so much, I wouldn't say hate, but there's a heavy dislike for him. But he, like Kyler said, he's a solid depth guy. He's not going to be your starting Sam, Mike, or Will that will be on the field every play. But you could definitely do worse at the position.
He's a good rotational linebacker for sure.
Right. And the other thing is, before he left Detroit, his last 2 seasons there, each of those seasons he had 7 sacks each, and like over 50, 60 combined total tackles. And for Detroit, that's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like him. I really wish Hicks and him were still there. I really wish Hicks, Kennard, Golden, and Campbell were all still around, and Zaven Collins was never a thing. That would have been the championship linebacker defense right there, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he has never been a double-digit sack guy, right? He is a 7-8 sack guy. Caps out, I think, was 9. 7 is his max, right, in a season with Detroit. So he's really actually like a 5 to 7 sack guy. But and you're gonna have to bear with me, Aaron. Per Pro Football Focus, he graded 78.5 against the run. So he's solid against the run. I know with outside linebackers, we think a lot about their pass rushing chops, and that's not his strongest, area. But he is good against the run. And with Chandler Jones likely moving on and so much uncertainty, I agree. You don't want him to have to be your starter, but if you have to start him and Marcus Golden, that there are worse outside linebacker tandems in the NFL. Yeah. If you can bring in a free agent or draft someone with potential and create a rotation with those 3 and Victor Dimukeje perhaps, right? And maybe get one other kind of developmental guy. If he's your 3rd outside linebacker, that's
pretty good.
Let me just get a couple comments here, Carol. The only play I remember him making is batting the ball down in 4th and goal against the Packers. Okay, yeah.
And the only play offensive lineman get remembered for is when they give up a sack.
Okay. Devin is decent. He just doesn't fit this defense like Devondre Campbell did the year before.
Vehemently disagree.
Okay. Yeah, I think he fits the defense. It's just honestly, I think his best fit for this defense is outside linebacker on 1st and 2nd down, where you might do some pass rush, but you need to set an edge against the run. And then maybe you bring in a pass rush specialist on 3rd down, right? I don't know, here's the only where I would say maybe if what you're looking for is him fitting this defense as a pass rusher, maybe he's not that guy in terms of a pure pass rusher like Chandler Jones. But I think there's a spot for him, especially at that contract, new contract.
I just think the defense in 2020, the way 2021, Vance Joseph really turned that thing around. And, it was a good, no, wait, what am I doing? I'm going to get my years mixed up. It was 2020, excuse me. In 2020, it was a defense that was just coming together. It seemed like everyone complimented each other so that the success was spread out. And I think when you can spread the wealth and have, the game film be, we got to make sure we got to watch out for this guy. He had 2.5, or this guy had 3 knockdowns or whatever, yeah, I think that's a sign of a good defense.
Yeah. I think we all agree the restructuring was a good move, and we're glad they're keeping him around, right?
Right.
Even if you don't want him necessarily starting, right? Yeah, he had 2 seasons in Detroit with 7 sacks. So yeah. Makes you question if you really trust Kennard. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if he's on the field, he trusts him some, but he doesn't trust him enough necessarily to start him full time, right?
Maybe his dad had a little in with Arizona. His dad was a guard for Arizona in the 90s, I think.
Yeah, his dad has ties here. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I think it was a good move. They're going to need some depth there, but they need to, I think ideally they need to get someone else to start ahead of him. So let's move on to the 2 other players that the Cardinals had a transaction regarding, and they extended tenders to Jonathan Ward and Antoine Wesley. They were exclusive rights free agents. Both of the contracts were like in the 800,000 some change, range. So they're very reasonable contracts. Aaron, what do you think about let's start with Jonathan Ward. What do you think about re-signing Jonathan Ward?
I mean, to be completely honest, I mean, I could really care less about it. The guy never plays. He never does anything. You want to keep him. You want to put a tender on him. Oh, we're really spicy now. I mean, he may crack the lineup. And when I saw that, it really just makes me question: when are we going to get more Benjamin?
But how could you be so down on the man with the number 1 catch in the NFL in the 2021 season?
If he's a special teamer, then I'm for all special teamers, because Green Bay would sure love to have someone right about now. So,
yeah,
but offensively, I mean, it's like not much. So, but I mean, I don't know. Jonathan Ward is kind of like the 2022 version of DJ Foster, the guy that just kind of never goes away.
Yeah.
And never seems to play anyway, but is like regarded as like this really cool and awesome guy, even though he never sees the field. I mean, I'm sure he could be an awesome guy, but it's a production business in a way. I don't know.
He led the team's offensive, I think, or certainly running backs in PFF grade last year or 2020.
Now you're really.
Of course, it was because he had like 1 play that was a touchdown, if you remember.
So it's like QBR.
Right.
1 for 1 yard, 1 touchdown.
Right. No, I think it was a good 5 yards. It was a nice jet sweep, but yeah. What do you think about bringing back Jonathan Ward, Kyler?
I agree with Aaron a lot. I wouldn't ever word it as colorfully as Aaron would, but yeah, it's a fine deal. Like, it's running back depth. Every team needs those guys that are like your 3rd and 4th string running backs that stick around. I mean, at least they know the offense. They've been around for a long time, so that's good. But I also agree, like if whoever's at the running back 1 position, whether it's Connor or Edmonds, and I think it's going to be one of them. I really like Benjamin as the number 2 guy. So Jonathan Ward is 3 or 4 at best. Yeah, that's fine. It's not that much money, so great to have him around again.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big impact move, but I do think in a way it's an important move. He contributes on special teams, and because of what's going on in the running back room with Edmonds and Connors both as free agents, and we don't know if one or both or neither of them are coming back. Not that I expect Ward or want him to be one of the guys who's getting significant snaps, but if we have a situation where Benjamin is the only returning running back from this roster and they are drafting 1 or 2 running backs to replace Connor and Edmonds, I like having another running back who knows the system, who's part of the depth and in the running back room. I don't want him to have to start, but if they've got a rookie and maybe a free agent that they've signed plus Benjamin, and between those 3 they're getting the snaps. I like having a guy on the depth chart if someone gets injured who knows the playbook and can step in, right? But you don't want him to be part of the rotation, right? Oh, we got a guy in the house that we all love, Payo Time, who joined me on Mock Draft Monday, brought an outside perspective. Thank you for being here, Zach. Really good dude. If you aren't subscribed to him, check him out. He's one of my favorite people, despite the fact that he's a Rams fan, which is
congrats on the win, Payo.
Yeah, for sure, right? So yeah, and remember Ward's injury on special teams against the Packers? Scary. Oh yeah. So I like the signing, but it's like because of that continuity, but I don't expect him to really have a major impact. But a guy they signed who might have more of an impact is Antoine Wesley, right? And so that's the other guy they tendered. So what do you think about bringing Wesley back, Kyler?
I like it. I like it a lot. Again, it's kind of a similar situation. He's going to be your number 5 wide receiver. He's going to be around the 5 or 6 spot, depending on how many they decide to keep. But he did get to play quite a bit in the last part of the season after DeAndre Hopkins got injured. I think he had 3 touchdowns in 3 games. So I do think that there's some type of connection between him and Kyler Murray. He has great size, great length. So as that additional depth piece that you want to keep around, just talented wide receivers like Antoine Wesley and Greg Dortch and players like that, the bottom little bottom third of the depth chart really isn't that bad for the Cardinals. I like both of them. And Antoine Wesley really brings that size that I think Kyler likes throwing to receivers with size. He hasn't gotten a chance to do that a lot. I wonder why, but he does like to throw to big, tall receivers, and Antoine Wesley has a lot of that. So I like that one. That one's much more meaningful to me than Jonathan Ward. I think it's a great move to bring him back on a super cheap deal.
Yeah, I think you're right. What do you think about that one, Aaron?
Well, he had definitely, he was the best receiver the last 3 weeks of the season, and for like a wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, or whatever he was, to be leading the team in touchdowns for the last 3 weeks of the season, then it's just kind of like, okay, well, something is really wrong here. But also, it just it's a testament to Wesley, who, when I saw, Cardinals sign former Cliff Kingsbury wide receiver, Texas Tech guy, I was just like, oh, great, here we go again. But I was proven wrong.
It worked out.
It did, and I am happy for it. But, I mean, is it going to be a cheap deal? Yes. How fast can they agree to one before another team places an offer for whatever that is, and then they get the right to sign them? I just can't shake that feeling, because somewhere some GM saw that and is just like, okay, well, I'm going to take this guy and stash him, and then before you know it, then he's making a key play in a situation. And I'm not saying it's going to be a Rasul Douglas situation, but I'm thinking, by the way, he's probably going to be released, and so we will never have to hear that again. But I just have this feeling like some other AFC team is just going to claim him.
Could be, it's hard to know, because there are so many receivers out there that are just kind of like that you see something in them and they just don't get a lot of playing time. But that's possible. In the preseason, I remember Greg Dortch had a better preseason, and I know a lot of people thought Greg Dortch might make the roster coming out of the gate. He ended up being on the practice squad. I remember I did a kind of an exercise of predicting the rosters with Walter Mitchell on a podcast with him. And I actually did predict Antoine Wesley would make the roster, just because I had heard that, they liked him. They liked him as that big outside receiver, and that he played at Texas Tech. And, as Mr. Mano said, he's not super fast. I think he ran like a 4.7 40, I think, coming out of college, if I'm not mistaken. But he's tall and he's that big outside receiver. I do think the best case scenario for him, when it's all said and done, and I'm not saying this will happen, is he somehow ends up as that starter in AJ Green's place at a very budget level. And the scenario where that would happen is they've got Hopkins, they bring back Kirk underneath, and then they re-signed Ertz, and they don't have any money to spend on that receiver, and they draft someone, and Wesley ends up earning the starting job. Now, I think they are going to get someone on the outside to compete with him or maybe get the job, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could end up earning that starter role. But even if he is the backup on the outside, he's a nice backup who has experience in the system, who's the type of receiver that they like on the outside, is those big, tall 50-50 ball guys. So I think it's a really good re-signing if they, so I agree with both of you. I want to real quick say, hey, some of the folks who've jumped in here, Jordan P. Thanks for being here. A lot of good guards and free agencies. It certainly seems that way.
Mm-hmm.
And before, I also want to, I think Peo posed a question, so I want to get this out there before we move on to the next topic. Are there any players that you want the Cardinals to move on from this offseason, but they probably won't? Mr. Mono's already responded with probably the most popular one, Jordan Phillips. They might cut him, but they do. It'll probably be a post-June 1st designation because there's a big difference in the dead cap. Is there any players that you can think of? And then Simon saying DJ Humphries. My opinion may not be the most popular. I think they should extend Humphries to bring that cap number down. If there's a way you could extend him that brings that cap down a lot. And I know that's not a real popular opinion, but that's actually where I think with Humphries. But is there anyone on the roster you think they should move on from that they won't?
That's tough. That is tough. I could set this comment stream ablaze. I'm going to have to take some time and look at this depth chart.
Well, that's why I was going to let Aaron go first, because I knew whatever he said would probably be controversial.
Let him drop the grenade in the room.
Right. Geez, man. Well, I mean, okay. The one person I actually would want gone, and I know, Kyler, we had this back when we were doing the cores.
No.
Jalen Thompson.
What?
Yeah.
Man, I thought I knew he was going to drop like a landmine in here, but like that? Whoa.
I just don't. He makes a play here and there, and he does enough just to keep me off of him, like that. But just like, I don't know. I just don't get it. I've just never have been a fan. And, another one that was a close, very close one. You can almost just say Marco Wilson, because I hated that draft pick last year. So, I mean.
Wow.
Hey, remember, pale ass, okay? What? I'm not even going to go there.
All right. So I don't agree with that one, but that's
Me
okay.
neither. No. Yeah. Aaron and I have hashed this one out before. So,
there are priors, huh?
I like Jalen Thompson a lot. I think the mix of him and Budda Baker is a really top tier safety duo. I'm not going to say it's the best, but it's pretty high up there. So wow. But I don't know if I can think of one that I
could have done a bigger one. I chose not to.
I mean, I think Jordan Phillips is probably the most popular pick. Although
and I sympathize with that pick.
Yeah, though they might get rid of him, but yeah.
Paid him a lot of money. He's been injured every season. He hasn't been super productive when he does play. I totally sympathize with wanting Jordan Phillips gone, but I don't necessarily think that it's unreasonable for him to get cut. So I don't think it qualifies for Peo Time's question, because I think there's every chance that he gets cut. I don't know that one.
I don't know that there's anyone that I'm confident they're going to keep around that I really want to see go yet. I think everyone they're going to keep around, I'm okay with them keeping around. A couple of them, I think I'd like to see them restructure their contracts or do something about the cap hit. I here's what I would say. Like, if they keep Jordan Pugh at his cap number, I have a
Justin.
problem with that. It's not. I think Jordan Pugh is a good guard, but it's the cap number. They need to restructure or do something. So that, but yeah, the rest of them I think they're okay. So let me real quick say hey to a couple people, and maybe we'll get Elliot Stevens jump in. What's up, my guys? Thanks for being here. Appreciate you being here. MKT Bongo, good to see you again. I haven't seen your draft video yet, but your opinions on Jordan Davis first round. My opinion is I don't know that he'll be there. He had an all-time great combine, but I don't know. I would say this. Someone in the Discord did like a mock draft, the full first round, like picking every team themselves. And I was like, and he's like, and I saw it, it's like, yeah, that's a good idea. So I went and did that too. And I did a couple of them. And when you go through and you pick for every team, you start to see that guys you think are going to be gone before 23, they can't all be gone, right? Yeah. We keep talking about these guys that we're like, oh, he's not going to be there when the Cardinals pick at 23. He's not going to be there. And those names start adding up. And there's a point where it's like, no, some of those guys have to be there. So if he's there, I like the pick. I don't know if he's going to be there because that combine was so good. But if he's there, I like it. What do you think?
His combine was incredible. Like, to see a human being of that size do the things that he did is awesome. I have a lot of concerns about conditioning and readiness to play a 17-game NFL season, that sort of stuff. So how much he would actually get to play just because of being able to stay in the game, I would have some concerns about that. But obviously the reason any Cardinals fan would want him is because he was great against the run in college, and he's just a gigantic human being to stop the run and stuff that part of the field. So if that happened, I would not be mad at a Jordan Davis pick at all. I think there are other options. Devontae Wyatt could be there. Another Georgia Bulldog who was also great at run defense, but better at pass defense or pass rush than Jordan Davis was. So there are other options. We could also obviously go interior offensive line. A lot of people want a wide receiver. So if he does happen to be there, though, I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah. I think that the argument for him being there, or one of the arguments for him dropping that far in the draft, is that some people see him as a 2-down player. Traditional nose tackles are, not the thing part, they're not as big a part of the league as they used to be. So if he slips because not enough teams think he can be a 3-down player, but the thing is, with the initial burst he showed and the athleticism he showed, I think a lot of people think he could be eventually a 3-down player if he isn't already. But yeah, I think he could be great. Real quick, I want to say a huge thank you, Rafael Castillo. Thank you. Hey, TCR, what's up? And what's up to the other guys too? You guys are the other guys. Yeah, hey, what's up, other guys?
Well, the other guy.
And you also have to keep in mind that every single year there's about 2 picks in the first round that nobody saw coming. So there is somebody will fall. And that's true. That happens a lot, right? Yeah. So all you need is a couple guys to kind of slip in that you didn't expect, right? I will say, humble brag, not even humble brag. Last year, when I first started my channel, I did a video where I basically said, okay, who's going to be available when the Cardinals pick, when they pick? And I didn't predict any kind of order, but I did accurately list all the players that would be gone before the Cardinals picked. I had all the right names. So I got that much right. But I'm going to try it again, and I won't get it right because the universe is going to punish me for bragging about that. And I will never get it right again. But thank you, Rafael Castillo, for the super chat. Thank you so much. You've been supporting chat really great. Really appreciate that. And of course, when we thank you. Appreciate the support. Real quick, let me just there was a comment. Do we sub Deontay Thompson? We do. This will be the last year of his rookie deal. So that safety that they drafted out of Alabama.
What was he? He was a
draft. 5th rounder. I'm sorry.
Supplemental.
No, that was actually Jalen was a supplemental draft.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
I get it mixed up.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to, right? The Thompson, right? But Deontay was a 5th round pick out of Alabama, and this is last year of his rookie deal. So, that's a guy who, who knows if he makes it. So, but real quick, let's see, is there anyone else that I missed that's jumped in here? I think I've hit. Oh, wait. We got buddy Lance, who's a great contributor to the chat and really a regular supporter of the channel. Thank you for being here. What's up, boys? Appreciate you being here. I think, hey, bragging rights deserved. Thank you, Calvin. Calvin, also a great supporter of the channel, which also reminds me, let's get the shout outs out of the way while we're at it. I want to thank my channel members who help support the channel, including Calvin and a few other folks who've been in here. Brendan Storr, Mark Jackson, Calvin, Red Sea, Kimmy Ndolo, Lennon Wolf, Ben Lacini, Richard Sanchez, Simon G, JP, Tim Kinsella. Thank you all for your support. Definitely appreciate that. So I think there was a question here Simon had. So let's look at that. What are your thoughts about re-signing Robert Alford? There's so much speculation on drafting a cornerback high. Kyler, why don't you get us started on this one? Oh, your name should be up there, Kathy. I will have it on there next time. I apologize. My bad. I will check that if okay. Sorry. Anyway, my bad. So what are your thoughts on this question?
Last season was just so confusing because he had some great games. Look, realistically, I don't think he should be re-signed because I think just changes need to be made in the cornerback room, whether that's in the draft, whether that's another free agent. Just rerunning with Robert Alford year after year, and even last season being the only time we ever even saw him on the field, I'm just personally not comfortable with running with him and relying on him in any way to remain part of the cornerback room. He had some good plays and he was decent in some games, but there were also plenty that he was not. And if he's a depth piece, great. But if he's going to be relied on for cornerback 1 or 2, I'm not comfortable with that anymore. Even if we have to get younger at the position and just let them learn, I would rather that happen than keep Alford again.
What do you think, Aaron?
And at this point, I mean, he's been in the organization for so long. It's just like, if you're going to keep him, fine. I mean, we could definitely have someone worse back there, but at the same time, at least as a guy who has experience, he can teach the younger guys something. And, like you said, depth piece, wouldn't be the worst thing.
Yeah.
But, if they start him, then they're just running with scissors.
Yeah. Obviously he had the 2 years he missed, and he played 14 games, which is, I don't know, a lot of players miss time. So if you get 14 games out of a player, that's not a bad season to me. I know some people might not agree with that. But I will say when he played, he was steady. He was our most consistent cornerback in terms of he had solid grades, PFF grades all season. He didn't seem to get burnt. He was solid and steady. He didn't flash a lot, but he was solid. And then he got injured. But I agree that if you're looking at him to be your number one, he was our number one cornerback, in my opinion, in terms of the role he played last year.
Yeah.
But if you're expecting that from him, that's dangerous, because we have what happened last time. So I like him if you're signing at least one other veteran who is your true number one. And then you're looking at Alford. You're going to have Byron Murphy Jr. as your slot plus, right? He slides in the second sometimes, or into the outside sometimes. And then you have Alford, Marco Wilson, Antonio Hamilton. I can live with that cornerback room. You sign someone who's going to be your number one, Byron Murphy, Hamilton, Alford, Wilson. I'd like it even better if you draft another guy on day 2 into that mix. But you have to have at least one other veteran that you can depend on as a starter, in my opinion.
Right. And then according to, PFR, he only allowed 57.1% of the passes to be completed when targeted. And the yards he gave up is 290 when compared to his superstar year in Atlanta in 2018, he gave up 887. So, credit to TCR for pointing out, it's kind of shocking how consistent and good that he's been. But we had all this, we have no idea what's going to go on because he's broke. He's been done for this season 2 years in a row.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think it was the same injury each time, was it? Was it the same injury? I think they were different injuries, right?
I don't think so.
But listen, he does seem to have, I hate the term injury prone, but if you listen to Stefania Bell on ESPN, she talks about there are some players who just have soft tissue issues, right? And he might be that. Sorry, go ahead, Kyler. I think you were going to say something.
I think part of the explanation of such low yards that he gave up was we just saw Byron Murphy and Marco Wilson in particular get picked on the second half of the season. So quarterbacks weren't throwing to him. So him letting so few yards go, that is a good number, and I'll agree on that. But he was not the one getting picked on. And there's something to be said for that. That's very positive.
That's what I was going to say. But if they're not picking on him, there's a reason. So listen, he was not a Pro Bowl caliber cornerback, but he was solid, right? And if you can bring in someone who's a true number one, and then you let Alford and Wilson duke it out for that other outside cornerback spots. And someone asked, let's see, not understanding who Byron Murphy is. We really draft and play only in slot. Like, come on, so
I blame Patrick Peterson for Byron Murphy's stunted career.
Right. Because his rookie year, Patrick Peterson got suspended, and they were in a really bad cornerback situation. Wasn't it Kevin Peterson and Byron Murphy starting for them for the first those
and
games?
A whole slew of other guys, yes.
So yeah, Byron Murphy, his rookie year had to start outside, and he kind of had to be their number one cornerback for a while, and he wasn't ready. He just had a really bad year, probably stunted his growth, like you talked about, his development. And then in his second year, they moved him to the slot, and he was solid. And then he got even better, in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year they did a thing where, and I did a video earlier before the season started or in the preseason talked about this. What they did with Byron Murphy this year was,
I'm just reacting. Keep going.
Okay. What they did with, I'm like, what? Okay.
No.
What they did with him this year was when they were in a 3-4 look with no nickel corner, they had him on the outside. When they moved into the nickel, they moved him into the slot and brought Wilson on, right? So he played outside and nickel. So he's best in the slot. He is. And you can argue that, man, that's a second round pick for a slot corner. At this point in his career, you just have to play him where he's best and not worry about where he was drafted.
But also, I think it's a wrong approach to think of a slot cornerback as a lower level of cornerback, because how many yards are coming from the slot in the modern NFL? Yeah. You have speedy guys going in the slot all the time now that are tearing up defenses. So to have an elite slot cornerback is a huge benefit to a team. And there's this historical precedence with the Cardinals particularly, but with every team, playing these players who are especially suited to do one thing, making them do another thing. I'm talking Hassan Reddick, playing him out of position for so many years and stunted his career. And also Josh Rosen, other quarterbacks that get a shaky start to their career and just never recover. And I'm not saying that Byron Murphy's never going to recover, but just that shaky start to what he got thrown into because of Patrick Peterson has really impacted him, and I think we're still seeing it.
Yeah.
I just want to
good.
I just want to jump in here. It did confirm it was back-to-back pectoral injuries for
it was okay.
So I don't know if it's the same one or not. Secondly, I know you have that question. Well, this is one of the questions I wanted to get to. The way Patrick Peterson grew into something that was awesome, and then shriveled up, like a flower in the Arizona desert because there's no rain, and then just burned alive. It's done. The Patrick Peterson, this discussion should be over. And then the whole thing about Rasul Douglas, stop it. I mean, it was just a practice squad play. I mean, that's my thing. I'm not talking about it anymore.
There were 30 other teams that had a chance at Rasul Douglas. He was on our practice squad. Anyone could have signed him. We all missed on him. So that's the deal with that. So, so be it, right? Patrick Peterson was great for a period of time. His play started trailing off, and the numbers support that. He got a lot of penalties, and that happens. But here's the thing: when he left Arizona, the way that all went down, he got suspended, and then there was he had requested a trade, and then he walked that back, and then he's left, and there's a little bit of kind of, I don't know, I hate to use it, but chirping. He's kind of, and listen, Steve Keim has a reputation for rubbing some players along the way in his dealings with them. So I don't want to make, completely, put this all on Patrick Peterson, but there's also the same way, something to be said about the way Patrick Peterson went about kind of airing that dirty laundry and kind of throwing some shade. It rubbed a lot of Cardinals fans the wrong way. Whether that's fair or not, that's more or less kind of what happened.
Don't forget the second demanded trade too.
Yeah. And listen, not everyone's Larry Fitzgerald. I get that. Right. So, and we are spoiled. We've had the best ambassador anyone could have, but I still think I don't think it's unfair to comment about what happened with Patrick Peterson. I don't hate him. I don't like the way he went about it, but it is what it is. But different subject, cornerback, offensive line, or other first round. Aaron, what do you think we should do in the first round?
Offensive line.
Okay, of course, because you played offensive line, right?
Yes.
I'm just messing with you.
No, that's fine. I can defend my homerism. We saw that this offensive line that seemed to be kind of on the way up at the end of 2020 in a way, just even with Rodney Hudson being in there, which started out well, and then when Rodney Hudson gone, the sky fell. And we need another guard, somebody on the interior there who can actually anchor this stuff, because Rodney Hudson, I love him, but he's not getting any younger. And, to afford him too, someone's going to try to give him one last, cheap 1-2 year, not cheap, but short 1 to 2 year deal is going to be worth quite a lot of guaranteed money. And I don't think the Cardinals can afford that, especially if they take up Kyler Murray's option. So get a rookie, O-Lemon.
Kyler, what do you think?
O-line, defensive line. Either line, they both need work. We know the run defense was atrocious, so doing something with a blue chip first round guy to help maybe stem that tide of running against us would be great. But between the two, I would go with O-line. Kenyon Green, Zion Johnson are two awesome options that I think could easily be there around the 23 mark. They're both great. And it's the interior part of the line, because like Aaron said, Rodney Hudson is awesome. And there was such a huge difference when he was in the game and when he was out of the game. We all saw that. But when you have two weaknesses on either side of him, that's a problem. So shoring up that interior part in the guards would be great. So I think there are good options in the first round for guard, which you don't always see every year. You see a lot of tackles go, and that's obviously the one that people want to draft in the first round because you want to get a franchise left tackle or right tackle because it helps build your team. But for us, definitely that interior part, and there are players to do it this year, so I'd like to see O-line.
Yeah, we haven't even had good guards since Mike Iupati and Ted Larson back in 2015. So it's really scrapping there in the names.
I want to say hey to a couple people real quick. We've got _NFL, who I know you all know too. He does a lot of stuff with Cardinals. First round trade back. We need depth for now in the future. I don't hate that. I like trading back. I love getting picks in round 2. So I don't hate that. We do need the depth.
As long as we stay in the first round, I'm not going out of the first.
I don't, if you can move back later in the first round and pick up another day 2 pick, I wouldn't mind that either. We got Lennon Wolf, the man, the legend. What is up? Baseball's back. Go Cards. Thanks for being here. My take on that question about, my top two, I'm generally with you guys in terms of the two positions I'm most looking at. For me, I defensive line, interior defensive line. Okay. Or interior offensive line for me, it's probably interior defensive line first, interior offensive line second. It's not because I rank the needs necessarily in that order. I just think maybe in day 2, I like the interior offensive line talent that's available in day 2 better than I like the interior defensive line talent. But it's 1A and 1B for me. And then after those two positions, for me, cornerback and receiver are in consideration if the right guy falls, because with all the pass rushers that are going to go early and some of the tackles that are going to go in the first round, and maybe even the fact, their quarterbacks are not going is going to affect that till late. But with all those tackles and pass rushers and stuff going early, there's a chance that maybe a really good cornerback slips to us who's like, like a McDuffie or someone like that, who like, maybe you got to take him, or a receiver like, Olave or someone like that, or Drake London. It's like, so those positions are in consideration for me. A position I'm not wanting to take in the first round unless someone really, really good falls, and people might disagree with me. I actually don't want to take edge rusher in the first round because it's so deep. I'd rather take that on day 2. Unless the Walker from Georgia falls to us, then let's talk. But that's kind of how I see it as far as that goes. So let's see real quick. Want to say hey I think there's a few more folks that jumped in here. Soccer Shoes might have been here earlier, but thanks for being here. Tylen Baum's there, 23 cars run. I don't like taking a center. Because what you want to start him if you draft him, and I don't like moving him to guard, and I don't want to move on from Hudson yet. I know he's this great center. Nothing against the talent. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
If you can get your version of a Quentin Nelson, you do that thing 99 times out of 99.
Okay.
So get a guard and someone who can actually pull and actually help the run game, and it's going to take care of itself. Plus, you can pull a guard out on a rollout pass protection. It's not really seen in the NFL, but as someone who did it, in high school and college, it still can be done.
Yeah. Okay. Kyle, do you want to jump in on that? Then we'll go to the follow-up question Lance had about.
I think Tyler Linderbaum is amazingly talented. I just don't really like the idea of drafting a great college center with the intent to immediately put him into a different position at guard.
Yeah.
Could he play it because he's such a talented player? Probably. But also, okay, this is stupid, but if you have Madden ratings, this dude's like a 90 center. He's awesome. And your intent is to put him into guard, and you know that that's immediately going to drop him to an 80. I just don't see the value in doing that when you have good players who are already used to that position, and you can still take it the same spot. So I'm just generally not a huge fan of drafting someone with the intent of changing their position as soon as you get them.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. And if he's that good, and then maybe you try to trade back and find someone who really needs a center and wants that and get something out of it. I don't know. So in terms of who leaves, that's a fair question. If we're drafting someone, the right guard position has been a question mark because, Justin Murray was injured and he was probably the guy who was originally going to start there. They had Josh Jones play there, but he's a tackle, right? Josh Jones is supposed to be a tackle, so he's kind of playing out of position. Max Garcia is your backup there. So I think the right guard position is, whoever we draft could play there. And then there is a question, do we move on from Justin Pugh? Do we bring in another veteran? I get continuity is valuable, so there's something to be said there. But at minimum, I think you should look to upgrade that right guard position, and that's where a guy you draft early could start, I think.
I think you get rid of Pugh because he's got a bigger cap hit, and then Garcia can still be a decent depth guy, not the main starter. But if you have a heavy package and you could put him in there, or if it's a blowout, then it's fine. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Sorry, were you gonna jump in there?
No.
Okay. David Rancheri, what's up? Thanks for being here. Can't wait for agency. Wonder who we're going to sign. Yeah, I think we're all looking that way too, right?
That's Bugs Bunny.
A lot of people really want JC Jackson. I just don't know if I think he's going to ask too much.
Money. Yeah, I think we have like either $3 or $5 million in cap space right now.
Yeah, I think we'll have more cap space when that time comes. But with the guys we want to re-sign, I just think it's gonna. I don't think he's gonna be in our budget, which I think is a good segue to the question I'd like to ask: who should they prioritize re-signing? Because they're making cap space. They are probably going to make more cap space, but there's still going to be some limitation. So which of the Cardinals' current free agents do you think they should put first in the line to prioritize to bring back? Aaron, why don't you get us started on that?
I had to see the list again. I had it up here. I thought I put it in my notes, but I guess I didn't. So
you don't have it memorized? Come on.
Yeah, I'm not you.
I'm not that good, but thank you. I mean, you got Zach Ertz, right? Chandler Jones, James Conner, Chase Edmonds, AJ Green, Max Williams.
Out of everybody, it's Conner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this Cardinals offense was flying before we even got Ertz, and it's still going to fly without it. So Ertz is great, best Cardinals tight end I've seen in my lifetime. So Conner for me.
Okay. Connor's your number one. Who would be your top priority, Kyler?
Connor's my number one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't let that many touchdowns walk out the door and go to another team. He was great. There's an argument that he's not the every down back that you need, but I kind of don't care when there are other backs that can do first down, second down things. And they're really a dime a dozen, and that's nothing against Chase Edmonds, but you can find him. You can even draft him really late, or you can let Benjamin do it. But James Conner is a touchdown machine, and he has to stay. Number two, Zach Ertz. Like Aaron said, the best Cardinals tight end in our lifetime, and he didn't even play a full season with us. He was awesome. And third is probably Max Williams, because I would like to see that combo together for a full season. Just the blocking of Max Williams, the pass catching of Zach Ertz, and Kyler Murray had a great connection, and he provides something really, really solid and important for him in the middle of the field. So 1, 2, 3, Conner, Ertz, Max Williams for me.
I agree with those three. And I'm a believer you don't pay running backs big money. So there's a point contract wise where I don't re-sign Conner if it's over a certain amount. For me, that threshold is somewhere in the 6 to 7 million range per season.
I think the PFF projection was 2 years, 6.5 average.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that, whatever you ask for, you give him. I mean, he almost broke the franchise record for rushing touchdowns and total touchdowns. He was only 1 away from David Johnson's rushing touchdown record, and he was only 2 or 3 away from the total touchdowns record, which I think was Charlie Trippy back in the 40s. So this is an historic player. You got to keep him around.
Well, I'm not into the blank check approach, though, because I get he was great. I love him. I mean, listen, the fact that I want to re-sign him in the first place with the way I am about running backs, if it were me as a general manager, I'd be drafting running backs in round 4 or 5 once a year, and I'd never re-sign any of them. Okay. That's how I would run it. And I want to re-sign him. So I love him, but there's just a point where listen, if he's asking for $8-9 million a year, and if there's someone who'll pay him, he deserves it. I just think from a roster building perspective, if that's what he's asking for, I'd rather spend a 3rd round pick on one of the better running backs in this class who's probably going to be really good. But I hope we can make it work. Like I said, the fact that I'm willing into paying him, I feel strongly about him. That's just my philosophy, right? And and that's yeah. He is injury prone. Well, but that's why you don't pay him a lot, and that's why you have 3 of them, right? So. Underscore wouldn't pay him.
If you do, if you do the strategy that you do draft a running back, but this is the offense that doesn't play rookies on offense unless your name is Kyler Murray. So, and if this is supposed to be a championship window and championship push, then you got to do your best to keep all the pieces around.
Yeah, you have to make tough decisions. Like I said, I want him back, but there's a point where it's like, well, if you pay a certain amount, then you might not be able to get Ertz back, or Max Williams. So, we'll see how it all plays out. I like him, but there's a point. But I the tight ends, I'm with you, Kyle. I love the Ertz Williams combination because Max Williams is so good as a blocker, and he's solid as a catcher.
Mm-hmm.
Ertz is so dynamic as a catcher. That is just this great combination. Lets you do a lot of different things. I'm a really big fan of that. Kathy wants us to get the tight end from Dolchich from UCLA. I mean, he made I mean, I don't think.
Who's you played? No, I'm just kidding.
Are we tagging it? No, we're not. I think that deadline's come and gone, right? And
that was March 8th. That was 2 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do like I would like the Cardinals to draft a tight end on day 3. Like the guy I'm really interested, the guy I kind of like is like a 6th or 7th rounder is Bellinger out of San Diego State. He looked pretty solid in the combine. He's a third guy in the depth chart kind of guy. But so I think we've actually gone over an hour mark. So maybe we'll kind of get 1 or 2 more questions and then we'll wrap it up for the night. So Underscore's got a question in here. Real quick, let me make sure. I think there are a few people who jumped in. So if I didn't say hey to you, thank you for being here. Teddy Jenkins, thank you for being here. Is Matt Araiza in the draft the field-changing player? I mean, he's if you come to I do a live stream on Monday nights, Mock Draft Monday, and it's unofficially the Matt Araiza fan club.
He's good.
Almost every mock draft has Matt Araiza in it. We love him on Mock Draft Monday, so come check us out on Mondays. I jokingly have come to saying if the mock draft doesn't have Matt Araiza on it, it's not official. So, and yeah, Lance, thanks for reminding everyone. Hit that thumbs up button. Really appreciate that. Let's see. Question here. Thoughts on Charleston Rambo, last chance for Oklahoma reunion for Kyler? I don't know a lot about Charleston Rambo. Do you have any thoughts on him? I haven't really looked at it.
I've never heard that name.
Is he a running back with Oklahoma? Shows how much I know. I've seen the name. I just haven't really looked at his info yet. So, but now I've got someone to look to read up more about. I have seen the name. I just don't know much about him. Underscore, would you guys be upset if we drafted tight end in draft 2nd to 4th round? We can solidify that position for the future. What are your takes? Kyler, why don't you get us started on that?
I mean, if we're not able to re-sign Ertz and Williams, then I think we do have to seriously consider drafting a tight end fairly high. But if both of those or even one of them is re-signed, I just think there are other needs that are so much more apparent that have to get addressed in the draft that I wouldn't necessarily go tight end, especially that high, like 5th, 6th round maybe, but 2nd and 4th, that's like, those are some money rounds to get wide receiver, running back, defensive depth, things like that. So I would go later if we do draft a tight end at all.
Yeah. What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, the only way I would be okay with it, and I've only done so much, Cardinals draft research because I do also write for the Texans site on Fansided for extra, as an extra job. So I've been looking more so on their needs. But The only tight end I would say that I would be okay with, especially in the second round, is if Jeremy Ruckert from Ohio State fell. But other than that, I'm not doing it. I mean, unless it's like a Gronkowski or whoever tight end you want to put in there, then I'm not doing it.
If for some reason they do not re-sign Ertz and the price is too much or whatever, and it's Max Williams and no one else that excites you on the roster, I don't hate a tight end in that range. Later is better. In that fourth round, if you get a guy like Dulcich or some of the other guys, Jelani Woods, that are kind of getting some attention, I don't hate that.
Dan Arnold.
Right. Well, there's a guy who reminds me a lot of Dan Arnold and Cole Turner. He's the same size, and he reminds me a lot of him. He's a receiving tight end, but not a lot as a blocker, out of Nevada. If you're going to go earlier than fourth round, like Trey McBride, he's supposed to be the best tight end in the class out of Colorado State. If you get him in the second or third round, I don't hate it. There's other positions I'd rather go with, but those day two tight ends, I mean, there's some really good NFL day two tight ends, that have been drafted there in rounds 3 and such. So that's not my preference, but if you don't bring back Ertz, I'm not going to get all upset about it. So yeah. And some comments on Charleston Rambo that he's the receiver from Oklahoma. I think he's looking like he's later in the draft. I don't know that I get why people might be interested in the connection, but I feel like there's some late round players that I like better than him.
Lance S., which Pope are you talking about? Are you talking about Leonard or Ben Pope? Because one of them caught the Cardinals' first touchdown in the Super Bowl. So I wouldn't call that a bust.
Well, if you're talking about Leonard Pope, he didn't do a lot for us, but he played around the year. He played around the league for a while. And okay, not completely off topic. Leonard Pope. I live in Georgia. If you don't know this, my career has brought me here. He's actually from the area near here. And one of my former students actually got an autograph because she just runs into him from time to time. And so I've got this piece of paper with an autograph from him. So he's from this part of Georgia.
That's awesome.
So I've not seen him here, but he's kind of from here. So yeah. Todd Heap. Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough.
Well, why don't we? I know that, and I apologize if I didn't get everyone's questions. Thanks, Peo, for being here. David P., thank you for being here. What do I think about Kyle Phillips, a receiver? I feel like I haven't looked at him closely. Isn't he a little bit smaller receiver? I've been looking at the big receivers, I guess. Maybe that's why I
need a big receiver. I don't want anybody near the size of Kirk or more ever again.
And that's maybe that's not the right attitude for me to have, but that's kind of my attitude, that if they aren't over 6'6", I'm not really looking at him closely. I'm trying to find him right now.
We need our DK Metcalfs.
He's 5'11", 191. So I'm not really. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Well, we need a better version of what we got out of AJ Green last year, right? That's what I think. But listen, I apologize if I didn't get everyone's comments. We'll do this one last question because there have been some rumors that Reddick, that the Cardinals are interested in him. What do you think about Hassan Reddick coming back? And yeah, the reports are he wants $17 million a year.
Well, that's news to me.
Aaron, why don't you? Yeah, what are your thoughts on it? Or what are your thoughts on Hassan Reddick re-signing Hassan Reddick at a price tag like that?
If it's that price, no, absolutely not. No, I mean, in my opinion, was this guy had 40% or 45, whatever the number is, of his sacks come in one game against a terrible team in a game that didn't matter. And then he goes to Carolina, and because the Panthers offense is so inept, he almost matches his 12 and a half sacks. So like I've been saying for a while now, pump the brakes. And, when's the last time you heard of, a Temple player doing good in the first round, and that's not the knock against Temple at all in them, but it's just like, you just don't see it. And I wanted him gone because for years he was just not producing, whether, whoever's fault that lies upon, it's there. So unless it's after the initial wave when everything calms down and he's kind of like, well, I guess I'll go back there. Kind of like how we got Marcus Golden. I know it was a trade back from the Giants, but that's going to be a similar thing. But at least Marcus Golden wanted to come back to Arizona. So I think Reddick is just chasing the dollar here. So good luck to him.
Kyler, what do you think?
Yeah, if there's truth to the $17 million a year, I wouldn't bring him back for that type of money. I like Hassan Reddick, and I was glad in the last season with us that he found the position that was right for him and he was productive. But like Aaron said, memory is a fickle thing. So we do remember this high sack season coming out of Hassan Reddick and then conveniently forget that a lot of that came from that one game. And that's not to knock that he had an amazing game, because Chandler Jones has racked up a lot of sacks in one game. He had the 5 sacks against Tennessee this year. So
4 in Seattle the other year.
Yeah, like, just not a knock on him. I really do think Hassan Reddick's a good player. I would not pay him $17 million a year, though. There are gonna be other options for pass rush without that. I know people want to bring him back because it's kind of like a feel-good story to bring him back to the team that drafted him and all that. But $17 million seems like an insane overpay to me.
At this point, I guess, like in the sake of this discussion, it is either Reddick or it's Kyler Murray. Can't have both.
I am very sympathetic towards Hassan Reddick in general, in that I think his career was done dirty by the Cardinals, playing him out of position.
Yeah.
He was an edge rusher in college. When they moved him to inside linebacker, and JP, thanks for being here. Good to see you. And real quick, Christian, thanks for being here. Do they re-sign Gardeck? Maybe I as a depth piece, but I'm sympathetic towards him. I think he would. I think the Cardinals and I've said this before, I think the Cardinals cost him a lot of money by playing him out of position, because if imagine he had been an edge rusher from his rookie year on, he probably would have been productive. And he probably would have got a much bigger contract last year, even in that 1 year. They might have cost him $10 million just in that 1 year with what he got paid. I also think he deserves, I think $17 million is a going rate for a guy who's had double-digit sacks in 2 years in a row. When you look at the kind of contracts that edge rushers get, I do think $17 million is market value for him. But I don't want the Cardinals to pay that. I think someone else should pay that. And I like Hassan Reddick. I think I give him a lot of credit because he wasn't a malcontent through those years. He was a good, you don't hear anything bad about him. I think he deserves to get a good contract. He's still relatively young, double-digit sack seasons back-to-back. A team's going to pay that is in a different cap position, and he deserves that. For the Cardinals roster situation, I don't want to pay that. I want to get maybe someone who's a little bit more of a budget pass rusher and draft someone on day 2 and develop them. That's how I want the Cardinals to approach it. So I think he deserves it. I don't think the Cardinals should pay it.
Fair enough.
So we've gone over an hour and 18 minutes. It's gone by so quick. We could go forever, but I know everyone has lives and work and jobs and family. So let me first thank everyone in the chat. If I didn't say hey to you at some point, I apologize. I try to at least acknowledge everyone at least once. Thank you everyone for being here. This has been a lot of fun. Really good active comments. Before we head out of here, Aaron, anything you want to say on our way out?
Yeah, just basically when it comes to the draft, it's Steve Keim, and I'm going to repeat something I said in an article on Raising Zona last year. Your dream prospect for the Cardinals is most likely not going to get picked in the first round. This is Steve Keim, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but we have seen it time and time again. Just when you think you have finally figured him out, he's going to zig when he zags. So buckle up and be ready.
And be sure to follow Aaron Van Buren for this kind of optimism. His Twitter handle is below. So, you can follow him for this kind of golden ray of sunshine on a daily basis. I kid, but do follow him.
He's really good for that.
It's just critical analysis, and there's nothing wrong with being critical. So many people mistake critical for being negative, when in reality, Cardinals haven't done anything since 1947. So let's have a sense of urgency.
Oh man,
Kyler, would you like to follow up on that?
Well, he speaks quite a bit of truth, actually. I didn't foresee the Zaven Collins thing, so if we pick another inside linebacker this year, I might lose my mind. But yeah, it's been great. The chat's been really good tonight. A lot of great questions. Kept it going. Yeah, the hour and 20 felt like nothing.
Yeah, for sure. Be sure you follow Kyler. His Twitter handles below and his YouTube channel. He's got 3 videos up already. Be sure you check them out. He's doing good work. I look forward to seeing what his channel can grow, and they're Aaron and Kyler both write for Raising Zona. They're both valuable parts of the Cardinals community. I appreciate them joining me. It's always fun to hang out on Thursday nights. And remember, Monday, Mock Draft Monday. Get your mock drafts. I'll put up the link for that sometime the next day or two. And there'll be information on how to get your mock draft in for the show. We had so much fun last week. Be sure you get that mock draft and join us. Mock draft Mondays are always just a lot of fun. It's the Matt Ariza happy hour here at TCR land. So thank you everyone for being here. You guys make this so much fun in the chat. I just appreciate everyone. Have a great evening. We will see you all Monday. Peace.